That behind me, SR-IOV virtual machines running on Proxmox off of a B50 GPU from Intel. Proxmox 9, standard kernel. There's a how-to on the forum. That's pretty much the video, but I could ramble a little bit longer about it. Let's talk. SR-IOV, single root I/O virtualization. It has long been the promise that you could run multiple virtual machines attached to a single GPU. That opens up a lot of possibilities. This is like the virtualization extensions that came to CPU. Just being able to run a computer within a computer, a virtual machine, is accelerated greatly by having some hardware support for that. And we've had that for a long time in the enterprise. For network cards, GPUs, special purpose accelerators, a whole bunch of things. It even sort of snuck out of the lab a little bit on earlier Intel GPUs. But really, the first commercial product was the Flex 170. Now, Flex 170 is really weird in 2025 because Intel's altered the web pages, and like so the people that I knew that used to work on that at Intel aren't at Intel anymore. But that's an enterprise class GPU. Now we have the B50 and the B60. I'm still trying to get my hands on a B60 GPUs, or maybe even some of the Max Sun dual B60s. But I do have a B50 that was sent to me by Intel. And this is not even supposed to be out yet, but I got it working because it's on the bleeding edge. And the driver thing is a little sketchy. And even some performance here stuff is a little weird. But it is SR-IOV running on a B50 GPU. Now that GPU has 16 gigabytes of memory. And I think the best configuration for the B50 is to split it into 4 GPUs that have 4 gigs of memory each. You can, if you look at the how-to, you can run more than 4 GPUs. It looks like it supports up to 12 instances, but I couldn't actually get 12 instances to work in the current state with the driver. 8 instances work. And 8 instances is 8 instances of 2 gigs of memory. But I'm actually running Heaven through remote desktop on 2 VMs. Well, really, it's 2 VMs right now, but you can run 4 VMs with the same performance at, that you see there. But it is a little weird. There are some aspects of SR-IOV in the setup that seem like they're a little bit more cooperative than hard partitioning. You see, last year when I was working with the Flex 170, in the module parameters, you could set it up, you could sort of pre-allocate it and configure it, and the little slice of the GPU that you had would never overrun whatever you had given it. Whereas with this, it seems like if I run a single unconstrained instance of Heaven, it'll run at like 130 FPS. But then if I load up a second one, the performance gets weird. And here's what I mean. So it's very smooth right now on these two systems. And this has been running for 48 hours continuously without really any hiccups or stutter or anything. And this really isn't meant to be like a gaming use case. This is meant to be like a virtual desktop with GPU acceleration. So if you ever have run a virtual machine that doesn't have a GPU pass through, and you go to something like Microsoft Virtual Earth or Google's Maps thing, and you look at a 3D Earth in the browser, that is actually 3D accelerated. Chrome has a lot of stuff in it. Chrome and Chromium have a lot of stuff in it to do 3D acceleration. And so when you drag and do stuff, it will 3D accelerate. If you have a VM that has a lot of cores, it can use a lot of CPU cores to kind of do software acceleration so you don't notice it as bad. But if you just create a little virtual machine that has, like, say, 4 cores, and there's no GPU pass-through, or it doesn't have any hardware GPU, you're going to get like 4 or 5 FPS on a 1080p desktop just dragging virtual Earth around. Whereas if you can pass through a GPU, even 2 cores, 2 cores, or 2 threads really even, is not a terribly unreasonable virtual machine experience. For these, I'm running 6 cores and 4 gig slices, 4 gig slices on the 16 gig B50. And that is a fantastic desktop experience. And it doesn't overtax the system. The system that this is running on is a 16-core EPYC AM5 system. So it's a relatively modest system with only 96 gigabytes of memory. And it's doing 4 virtual machines that have GPU acceleration. Yeah. Now check this bug out. If I launch Heaven and I let it run unconstrained in our single VM, it starts out at kind of a stuttery mess at like 20 FPS. But if I just drag the window, I'm not running full screen, just drag the window a little bit off screen and a little bit back, all of a sudden it's going at like 120, 130 FPS. And it'll stay this way pretty steady as long as there's not any other demands on the rest of the GPU. This is weird. This is a driver bug. I feel like Intel will fix this. It makes no sense dragging the window off screen and then putting it back on screen would cause the FPS to do that. Normally remote desktop is 30 FPS. There's a registry thing you can edit to make remote desktop 60 FPS if you're using like Moonlight or some of the other like Parsec, things like that. Then you can do like 60 FPS and beyond, but that's clearly something squirrely in the driver. Like the Intel team can probably look at that and diagnose that as like, oh, we were doing unaligned copies, and then because you moved the window, now we're doing aligned copies, and everything is so much faster because of that. I don't know. Don't listen to me. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I've tested extensively 2 different versions of the XE graphics driver, and the older one is actually a little bit better for this use case. The newer one is very slightly more unstable. So you're definitely going to want to check out the forum thread at the Level 1 Techs forums, as this is kind of an evolving thing. Like I said, this is not even really supposed to be out there yet. It's just kind of happening to work, and it's really amazing to see Intel sort of making good on their promise. So there's that. That's the thing. You should, don't freak out too bad that things aren't working exactly perfectly correctly. I have a feeling we'll get these things ironed out. It is interesting that one instance on SR-IOV can affect another instance, but that's probably due to the nature of the fact that this is just a $350 GPU and not a $1,000 plus GPU. Nevertheless, I think this is going to throw open the doors, the threshold to finally have a good SR-IOV experience. I can imagine vendors putting 2 or 4 of these GPUs, 4 lanes, it's fine, these are only 8 lanes to begin with, on a single card for dense VDI instance plays. Or even just like the craziness that we have here, we could bifurcate a slot into 4 X4 slots and then just run 4 B50s per 16 lanes that we have to the motherboard, and that would be fine. Might need a special case, but that's completely fine. The driver should probably be a little bit more stable before anybody commits to doing that, but it is nice to see that. One place where the driver sort of falls apart and is not working properly, I think, is the encoder. So it's like, can you run OBS, and can OBS use some of the Intel facilities to do encoding? And right now the answer is no. I don't believe that is working. But if that's different, or you try the driver and you make some discoveries or whatever, that sounds like a discussion for the forum so that we can archive it for posterity and also keep an eye on everything that's happening here. So think of this as the 0.01 version of SR-IOV in Proxmox 9 with the B50 GPU. The full how-to is on the forum if you want to do this. Oh, and massive shout out to Jammin MC. Beat me to it. Good job. You will have to build a custom 6.17 kernel for Proxmox, which was sort of frowned upon in the Proxmox forums. I too was working on that, but he beat me to it. There's some Debian packages on GitHub you can download. If you want to build your own kernel, that's fine. It does take a couple of patches. It's mostly down to AppArmor. Jammin MC went the route of like actually fixing AppArmor, whereas I just disabled it because I wanted to mess around with it. But for the work that I've done, I don't see any reason why this functionality with the B50 and the XE stuff here wouldn't backport with like a DKMS module or something like that. I don't even really know that you need DKMS, because by the time I got it set up, it's just using the VFIO driver. So you have an instance, like a 0th instance of the GPU. That's not the one that you pass through. And then you create a function using the SR-IOV number of functions. Like you say, you create 4 or 6 or whatever. And then you can pass through each one of those to the VM. You don't pass through the 0th instance. That stays on the host. NVTop doesn't show anything particularly useful to look at the stats of the GPUs. I thought it might be able to see some interesting info, or to like give me some stats on how the virtual machines are using the GPU. No, that's all completely opaque. Maybe there will be some plumbing added for that kind of stuff later, either in the kernel or maybe on the driver side of things. I don't think it really works that way under the hood. I'm just sort of speaking things into existence, hoping that somebody finds a way to bridge the gap there. I'm glossing over a lot of details. There's a lot of stuff there that I don't know. But if SR-IOV is exciting, and having it on a $350 GPU is exciting, or if you get one of the B60s, I'm still trying to get a B60, then yeah, let us know. Take this kind of thing for a spin. Let us know where you end up. But this is working under Proxmox, and it has been 48 hours stable. So I'm pretty excited. On Windows Level 1, there's been a quick look at SR-IOV on the B50 running on kernel 6.17 in October of 2025. How exciting is that? All right. If you have any questions or I missed anything, hit me up in the forum. I'm signing out. I'll see you there.